Alright, so today we'll be working on 9.4, part 2, solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Alright, so the first one we're going to do is 2x squared plus 20x minus 8 is equals 0 by completing the square. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to get rid of the 8 on the left side. So we're going to try to move this to the right side by adding 8 to both sides. And we're left with 2x squared plus 20x is equal to 8. And from here, you might notice that we have a 2x squared and a 20x. And this means that we can factor out a 2. And now, we can take this 2, we can divide this whole thing by 2. And remember, we have to do this to both sides. And this simplifies the amount of work that we have to do. So we are left with x squared plus 10x is equal to 4. And now, we're going to complete the square again. And we notice that our b is 10. So we're going to plug it into the form that we've been using. Okay, so b over 2 to the power of 2. And our b is 10. 10 divided by 2 times, to the power of 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5 squared. So we're left with 25. And now we need to plug this back into our original equation. Alright, so let's rewrite this up here. So we have x plus 10x plus 5 squared is equal to 4 plus 5 squared. And now we can factor this. We have x plus 5 squared. Remember, this 5 is the same one that we had over here. And 4 plus 5 squared is 29. And now, since we have this 2 up here, we need to get rid of this exponent 2. And we can do that by finding the square root of x plus 5 squared. But we have to do that to both sides. So that leaves us with, when we get the square root of x plus 5 squared is x plus 5. And then we're left with root 29. And that's going to be positive and negative. Oh, mistake here. Positive and negative. Remember that. It's very important. And now, that means our two answers are going to be, well, before we do that actually, we need to get rid of this positive 5. And to do that, we need to subtract 5 from both sides, which leaves us with x. Let me do some different color. Alright. That leaves us with x is equal to negative 5 minus root 29. And our second answer is going to be negative 5 plus 29. And go ahead and use your calculators to find a more exact answer if you want. If we simplify this with a calculator, our answer would be approximately that's for the other one. Our answer would be approximately negative 10.39, and this would be approximately 0.39. These are rough estimates. Alright, let's try another one. So now we'll be working on finding and using maximum and minimum values. One way to find the maximum and minimum value of a quadratic function is to write the function in vertex form by completing the square. And remember that the vertex form of a quadratic function is y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k, and a cannot be equal to 0. The vertex of the graph is h comma k, right? So this h right here corresponds with this h, and notice that does not include this negative, and this k corresponds with this k. Might have forgotten that. Alright, so for this one, it tells us that we need to find the minimum value, right? So do that. The first thing we're going to need to do, actually before we start that, remember, we need to write the function in vertex form. So remember, vertex form. So if it helps, rewrite this equation up here for your own sake, and then let's get started. Alright, so first thing I want to do here is move this -1. And to do that, we need to add 1 to both sides, which leaves us with y plus 1 is equal to x squared plus 4x minus 1. Oh, we got rid of the -1. And now we can complete the square for this part right here. Alright, so we're going to complete the square right here. And remember, we need to identify what our b is. Our b is this positive 4 right here. And remember the formula once again is b over 2 to the power of 2. And that's equal to 4 over 2, right? B is equal to 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we have 2 squared now, and 2 squared is equal to 4. And now we can go ahead and plug that back in. But remember, we need to do that to both sides. So we have y plus 1 is equal to x squared plus 4x. So let's go ahead and add this over here, plus 4 and plus 4. Alright? And now, let's just simplify this. We're left with y plus 5 is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 4. And now we can factor this side. When we factor that, we're left with x plus 2 squared. And now we can move this positive 5 to the right side by subtracting 5, which leaves us with x plus 2 squared minus 5. And if you're confused as to why I'm moving this plus 5 to the right side, remember that we're trying to get to the vertex form. And in vertex form, y is all by itself here. Cannot have anything with the y. So everything other than y has to be moved to the right. There can't be anything in front of the y, it just has to be y only. So that's the reason why we move this 5. And now from here, this is in vertex form. So now we can use this to figure out more information. Okay, so once again, try to pause the video and see if you can figure out what the vertex is by yourself first. Remember that the vertex is h, comma, k. And remember that this negative is not included in here. If it's positive, then it should be negative h. Then it should be a negative h. But the k will stay the same. Alright, so now let's figure out what our vertex is. Remember that it doesn't include a symbol, so we have h right here, and we have k right here. So our vertex form is h, comma, k, which means It's negative 2, comma, negative 5. So since, remember that it was, the vertex form is negative h. So that means it's going to be negative 2, right? Because a negative times a negative is positive. Alright, so now we're left with one more thing that we need to find out. So, is this graph going to be pointing up or down? And the way we can find out is figure out what's in front here, right? This is going to be A. And since there's nothing here, we assume it's 1. And since there's no negative symbol, we assume it's positive, right? So our A is equal to positive 1. And if we have a positive 1, that means our parabola opens up. So that means it's going to look something like this. Okay, and that's very important to know. And now to figure out, the main question that we were asked earlier was to find the minimum value. And to find the minimum value, we're going to look at our vertex. Our vertex is negative 2, comma 5. So let me write that in another color again. So our vertex is equal to negative 2, comma, negative 5. And that means that the vertex will be like this. So what is the smallest y value they could possibly have? That'll be negative 5. So this will be our minimum, right? The smallest y value. The smallest y value. So now, that's all we have to do. Alright,